Hello and welcome back to Easy English Podcast Daily, a place where you can practice English, improve your speaking skills, and become more confident one conversation at a time. If you are learning English and sometimes don't know what to say when you meet someone new, today's episode is especially for you. Because today, we're going to talk about something very simple but extremely important. Greetings and introductions. How do you greet someone naturally? How do you introduce yourself? How do you ask someone their name? How do you talk about where you're from? How do you say what you do? And most importantly, how do you keep the conversation going after saying, "Hello, nice to meet you"? These are some of the first things we learn in English, but knowing the grammar is not always enough. You may know the words "hello, my name is," but when you actually meet someone, you might suddenly feel nervous. You may not know what to say next. That's why today's episode is going to focus mainly on speaking. You will hear useful expressions, short conversations, pronunciation practice, and speaking exercises. So don't just listen passively. Speak with me, repeat the sentences, pause when you need to, and try to answer my questions aloud. Remember, you don't need perfect English, you just need to start speaking, so take a deep breath, relax, and let's begin. Let's start with the most basic word. Hello, hello, it's simple, isn't it? But there are many different ways to greet someone in English. You can say hello, hi, hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Let's practice them. Repeat after me. Hello, hi, hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Excellent. Now let's think about when we use these greetings. Hello is polite and can be used in many situations. Hi is very common and friendly. Hey is more casual. You might say hey to a friend, a classmate, or someone you know well. For example, hey Sarah, hey, how are you? But you probably wouldn't start a formal job interview by saying, hey. You would normally say, good morning, or good morning, it's a pleasure to meet you. So the greeting you choose depends on the situation. Let's practice a few situations. Imagine you meet your friend in the morning. You can say, hi, how are you? Or hey, how's it going? Now imagine you're meeting your teacher. You could say, good morning, or good morning, how are you? Now imagine you're meeting someone at a job interview. You could say, good morning. It's a pleasure to meet you. Notice that your English changes depending on the situation. This is called being appropriate. It means choosing language that is suitable for the situation. Now let's learn some natural responses. Someone says, hi, how are you? What can you say? You can say, I'm good, thanks. How are you? I'm doing well, thanks. How about you? Pretty good, thanks. And you? I'm great, thanks. How's your day going? Let's practice. I'll say the first part. You respond, hi, how are you? Pause. Now answer. Maybe you said, I'm good, thanks. How are you? Excellent. Let's try again. Hey, how's it going? Pause. Your answer could be, it's going well, thanks. How about you? Very good. Now one more. Good morning, how are you doing? Pause. You could say, I'm doing well, thank you. And how are you? Excellent. Now let's talk about a very common mistake. When someone asks, how are you? You don't always have to give a long answer. You can simply say, I'm good, thanks. And you? That's completely natural. You don't need to explain your entire day. For example, how are you? I'm good, thanks. I woke up at 6, had breakfast, took the bus, went to work. That's far too much information for a simple greeting. Sometimes simple is better. I'm good, thanks. How about you? Short, natural, easy. Now let's move to introductions. Imagine you meet someone for the first time. The easiest introduction is, hi, I'm Athera. Or, hello, my name is Athera. Both are correct, but in everyday conversation, hi, I'm sounds very natural. For example, hi, I'm John. Hello, I'm Maria. Hi, I'm David. Nice to meet you. Now let's practice. Repeat after me. Hi, I'm, pause, now say your name. For example, hi, I'm Athera. Again, hi, I'm Athera. Excellent. Now let's add another sentence. Nice to meet you. Repeat, nice to meet you. You can also say, it's nice to meet you, or it's a pleasure to meet you. The last one is more formal. Now imagine I say, hi, I'm Daniel. Nice to meet you. What do you say? You can say, nice to meet you too. Notice the word too. It means also. He says, nice to meet you. You say, nice to meet you too. Let's practice. Nice to meet you. Pause. Your response, nice to meet you too. Excellent. Now let's put everything together. Listen to this short conversation. Hi, I'm Daniel. Hi, I'm Sarah. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. How are you doing? I'm doing well, thanks. How about you? I'm good, thanks. Simple, right? But this is how many real conversations begin. Now it's your turn. I'm going to pretend that we've just met. I'll say, "Hi, I'm Daniel, nice to meet you." Pause the episode. Introduce yourself, say your name, then say, "Nice to meet you too." Go ahead. Excellent, now let's continue. Where are you from? This is another very common question when meeting someone new. You can answer, "I'm from India, I'm from Kerala, I'm from Brazil, I'm from Japan." You can also say, "I come from India, but I'm from India" is very common in everyday conversation. Let's practice. Where are you from? Pause, answer aloud. "I'm from," now say your country or city. Excellent, you can also ask, "Where are you from?" Let's practice. Where are you from? Again, where are you from? Now imagine someone asks you, "Where are you from?" You answer, "I'm from India." How about you? That's a useful expression. How about you? It means, "And what about you?" It helps you continue the conversation. For example, "I'm from India, how about you?" "I'm a teacher, how about you?" "I live in Kerala." "How about you?" "I love traveling, how about you?" This little expression is extremely useful. Let's practice it. How about you? Again, how about you? One more time. How about you? Excellent, now let's talk about where you live. Someone might ask, "Where do you live?" You could answer, "I live in Kochi, I live in Kerala, I live in a small town near the city," or simply, "I live in India." Let's practice. Where do you live? Pause, answer aloud. "I live in." Good. Now let's move to one of the most important questions in introductions. What do you do? This question can sometimes confuse English learners. What do you do? It usually means, what is your job? For example, "I'm a teacher, I'm a student, I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm a designer, I'm an online English tutor." You can also say, "I work as a teacher," or "I work in education." Let's practice. What do you do? Pause, answer aloud. "I'm a." Now say your job. Excellent. Now let's make the answer longer. Instead of simply saying, "I'm a teacher," you could say, "I'm a teacher. I teach English to students." Or, "I'm an online English tutor. I help students improve their speaking skills." This gives the other person something to ask you about, and that is an important speaking skill. When you introduce yourself, don't just answer questions. Give the other person something they can respond to. For example, "I'm a teacher." The other person might say, "Oh nice, what do you teach?" But if you say, "I'm an English teacher, I mainly help students improve their speaking skills," the person might naturally ask, "How long have you been teaching?" Now you have another opportunity to speak. This is how conversations develop. You answer, you add information. The other person asks another question, you answer again, and the conversation continues. Let's practice another common topic, studies. Someone might ask, "What do you study?" You could say, "I'm studying English, I'm studying business, I'm studying computer science, I'm doing a degree in English literature." You can also ask, "What do you study?" Let's practice. What do you study? Pause, answer aloud. Excellent. Now let's talk about hobbies. This is one of the easiest ways to continue a conversation. Someone might ask, "What do you like to do in your free time?" That's a longer question, but don't worry, it simply means, "What are your hobbies?" You could answer, "I like reading, I enjoy watching movies, I love listening to music, I enjoy traveling, I like cooking, I usually spend my free time reading." Let's practice. What do you like to do in your free time? Pause, answer with two things you enjoy. For example, "I like reading and listening to music." Now make it a little longer. "I like reading and I also enjoy watching movies." Excellent. Notice the expression, "I also enjoy." This is useful when you want to add another idea. For example, "I like traveling and I also enjoy photography." "I like cooking and I also enjoy trying new recipes." "I enjoy teaching and I also like learning new languages." Now let's practice a complete introduction. Imagine you meet someone for the first time. You can say, "Hi, I'm Athira, nice to meet you. I'm from Kerala, India, and I work as an English tutor. I enjoy reading, listening to music, and learning about different cultures." That's a very good introduction. But now let's make it conversational. "Hi, I'm Athira, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Where are you from?" "I'm from Kerala, India. How about you?" "I'm from Spain." "Oh, that's interesting. What do you do?" "I'm a graphic designer." "What about you?" "I'm an English tutor." "That's nice. How long have you been teaching?" "I've been teaching for about 2 years." "That's great. What do you like to do in your free time?" "I enjoy reading and traveling." This is a natural conversation. Notice something important. Nobody used extremely complicated English. The vocabulary was simple. But the conversation was successful because the speakers knew how to ask questions, respond, and continue the conversation. That's what speaking is about. Now let's practice some follow-up questions. A follow-up question is a question you ask after someone has given you an answer. For example, where are you from? I'm from India. You can ask, which part of India are you from? Or, what do you like about living there? Or, have you lived there all your life? Let's take another example. What do you do? I'm a teacher. You can ask, where do you teach? How long have you been teaching? What do you enjoy most about teaching? See what we're doing. We're not ending the conversation after one answer. We're building the conversation. This is an important skill for English speakers. Let's practice. Imagine I say, I'm a teacher. Ask me one follow-up question. Pause. Good, you might have asked, where do you teach? Or how long have you been teaching? Excellent. Now I'll say, I love traveling. Ask me a follow-up question. Pause. You could ask, where have you traveled? Or what's your favorite place? Or, where would you like to travel next? Very good. Now let's learn some expressions that can make you sound more natural during introductions. Instead of always saying, that's nice, you can say, oh, that's interesting. Really? That's great. That sounds interesting. That's nice to hear. I see. That's wonderful. For example, I'm from Japan. Oh, that's interesting. I'm studying medicine. Really? That's great. I love hiking. That sounds interesting. These small expressions help you show interest, and showing interest is an important part of conversation. Imagine you meet someone who answers every question with, yes, no, okay, fine. The conversation becomes difficult, but imagine someone who says, really, that's interesting. How about you? That's great. Tell me more. The conversation becomes much easier. So don't just focus on speaking, learn to respond. Let's practice some reaction phrases. Repeat after me. Really? That's interesting. That's great. That sounds fun. Oh, I see. Tell me more. How about you? That's nice. Excellent. Now let's practice a short conversation together. I'll be person A, you will be person B. Don't worry about getting everything perfect. Just respond naturally. Ready? Hi, I'm Alex. Nice to meet you. Pause your response. Nice to meet you too. Excellent. Next. Where are you from? Pause. Answer. Good. Next. Oh, that's interesting. What do you do? Pause. Answer. Excellent. Next. That sounds interesting. What do you like doing in your free time? Pause. Answer. Very good. Now ask me a question. You can say, how about you? Excellent. This is how a conversation works. You don't need to memorize a long speech. You need to learn how to respond. Let's talk about another situation. Imagine you are attending a class for the first time. You sit next to someone you've never met. You can start with, hi, is this seat free? Or hi, are you in this class too? These are natural conversation starters. The person might say, yes, I am. You could respond, great, I'm new here. Or nice, I'm here for the first time. Then you can ask, what's your name? Or have you taken this course before? Let's listen to a short example. Hi. Is this seat free? Sure. Thanks, I'm Athira, by the way. I'm Emma, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Are you taking this course for the first time? Yes, I am. What about you? It's my first time too. This is a simple but realistic conversation. Now imagine you are at a workplace. You meet a new colleague. You could say, hi, I'm Athira. I don't think we've met before. That's a very useful expression. I don't think we've met before. It means you're not sure whether you've met this person previously. Then, what's your name? Where do you work? What team are you on? Or, how long have you been working here? Let's practice the expression, I don't think we've met before. Again, I don't think we've met before. Excellent. Now let's talk about introducing someone else. Sometimes you don't introduce yourself, you introduce another person. For example, this is my friend Sarah. This is my colleague David. Let me introduce you to my friend Emma. Have you met John? These expressions are useful. Imagine you're with your friend Sarah and you meet your colleague David. You can say, Sarah, this is David. David, this is Sarah. Then, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Very simple. Let's practice. This is my friend Sarah. Again. This is my friend Sarah. Now, let me introduce you to my colleague. Again, let me introduce you to my colleague. Excellent. Now let's discuss formal introductions. Imagine you're attending a job interview. You shouldn't usually say, "Hey, what's up?" Instead, you could say, "Good morning, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you." These expressions sound professional if the interviewer says, "Could you tell me a little about yourself?" You can give a short introduction. For example, "Certainly, my name is Athira, I'm from Kerala, India. I have a background in English language and literature and I have experience teaching English. I'm particularly interested in helping learners improve their communication and speaking skills." That's a professional introduction. Notice that this is different from introducing yourself to a new friend. The situation changes the language. Now let's practice. Imagine you're in a job interview. I say, "Good morning, could you tell me a little about yourself?" Pause the episode, give your introduction aloud, try to speak for about 30 seconds, don't read. Don't worry about mistakes, just speak. Excellent, now let's make it more challenging. Imagine you're meeting someone at an international conference. You don't know them. You walk over and say, "Hi, I'm Athira. I don't think we've met before." They say, "Hi, I'm Daniel, nice to meet you." You say, "Nice to meet you too. What brings you here?" What brings you here is a very useful expression. It means, why are you here, for example. What brings you to this conference? What brings you to London? What brings you here today? Let's practice. What brings you here? Again, what brings you here? Excellent. Now imagine the person says, "I'm here for a training program." You can ask, "Really, what kind of training?" Or "How long is the program?" Or "Have you attended this event before?" This is how you keep a conversation moving. Now I want you to practice one more important skill, asking open questions. An open question usually encourages a longer answer. Compare these. Do you like traveling? The person can simply say, "Yes," conversation finished. But, "What kind of places do you like traveling to?" Now the person has more to say. Another example, "Do you like your job?" "Yes." Instead ask, "What do you enjoy most about your job?" That's more conversational. Instead of, "Do you like movies?" ask, "What kind of movies do you enjoy watching?" Instead of, "Do you like reading?" ask, "What kind of books do you like reading?" Instead of, "Do you like your city?" ask, "What do you like most about your city?" These questions help conversations continue. Let's practice. I'll give you a topic, travel. Ask me an open question about travel. Pause. You could ask, "What's your favorite place you've ever visited?" Excellent. Next topic, food. Ask me an open question. Pause. You could ask, "What kind of food do you enjoy?" Great. Next topic, work. Ask an open question. Pause. You could ask, "What do you enjoy most about your work?" Excellent. You're doing very well. Now let's practice a complete conversation. This time, don't just answer. You need to ask questions too. Imagine we've just met at a cafe. I'll start. "Hi, I'm Daniel. Is this your first time here?" Pause. You respond. Now imagine I say, "That's nice. What do you do?" Pause. Answer. Now ask me a question. Good. I answer. Now respond with a reaction. Maybe. "Really? That's interesting. That sounds great." Then ask another question. Pause. Excellent. This is real conversation practice. You don't need to memorize every sentence. You need to practice the skill of responding. Now let's talk about one final problem. What if you don't understand someone's name? This happens all the time. Don't pretend you understood. It's perfectly okay to ask again. You can say, "Sorry, could you say your name again?" "Sorry, I didn't catch your name. Could you repeat that, please?" These are polite expressions. Let's practice. "Sorry, I didn't catch your name." Again, "Sorry, I didn't catch your name." Excellent. And if someone speaks too quickly, you can say, "Sorry, could you speak a little more slowly?" Or, "Sorry, could you say that again?" There is nothing embarrassing about asking someone to repeat themselves. Communication is a two-way process. You speak, you listen, you ask, you clarify, you respond. That's how conversations work. Now let's do our final speaking challenge for today. I want you to imagine that you are meeting someone new for the first time. You have about 1 minute. Introduce yourself. Tell them your name, where you're from, what you do, what you enjoy, and then ask them one question. You can start like this. "Hi, I'm..." Now pause the episode. Speak for 1 minute. Don't write anything, don't read anything, just speak. Excellent. Now let's do it one more time, but this time try to make your introduction more natural. Don't simply list information. Connect your ideas. For example, "Hi, I'm Athira. I'm from Kerala, India, and I work as an English tutor. I've always enjoyed learning languages, so teaching English is something I really enjoy." In my free time, I like reading and listening to podcasts. What about you? What do you do? That's much more conversational. Now it's your turn. Speak for 1 minute. Wonderful. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is communication. The more you practice these small conversations, the easier they will become. Today we learned how to greet people naturally. We practiced hello, hi, hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We learned how to introduce ourselves. Hi, my name is, nice to meet you. It's a pleasure to meet you. We learned how to ask about someone. Where are you from? Where do you live? What do you do? What do you study? What do you like to do in your free time? And we learned some very useful conversation expressions. How about you? Really? That's interesting. That sounds great. Tell me more. What brings you here? I don't think we've met before. Sorry, I didn't catch your name. Could you say that again? These expressions can help you become a more confident conversationalist. But don't just listen to them. Use them. Today, choose 5 expressions from this episode. Say each one aloud 5 times, then use them in your own sentences. And here's your speaking challenge for today. Find a quiet place. Set a timer for 5 minutes. And imagine you're meeting 5 different people. Introduce yourself to each person. Ask them where they're from. Ask what they do. Ask about their hobbies. And respond naturally to their answers. You can even practice both sides of the conversation. It may feel strange at first, but remember, speaking practice doesn't have to be perfect to be useful. Every sentence you speak gives you another opportunity to improve. And the next time you meet someone new, don't overthink it. You don't need a complicated introduction. Start simple. Hi, nice to meet you. Where are you from? What do you do? How about you? That's enough to begin. And once the conversation begins, keep asking questions, keep listening, and keep responding. That's how conversations grow. That's how speaking confidence develops. And that's how you become a more natural English speaker. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to Easy English Podcast Daily for more practical English speaking lessons. And tell us in the comments, what is the most difficult part of introducing yourself in English? Is it finding the right words, pronunciation, speaking confidently, or keeping the conversation going? Share your answer in the comments. You can also write a short introduction about yourself. For example, hi, I'm from, I work as a. In my free time, I enjoy. Writing your introduction in the comments is another great way to practice. And remember, don't wait until your English is perfect before you start speaking. Start with what you know. Use simple sentences. Ask questions, listen carefully, make mistakes, and keep going. Every conversation is practice, every sentence is progress, and every time you speak, you're becoming a little more confident. Thank you so much for listening to Easy English Podcast Daily. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and most importantly, don't be afraid to start a conversation. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.